Hey, what's up everyone? So it's been a little bit over a week now since we got our 3 new characters for Street Fighter V, Lucia, E Honda, and Poison. And I think it's time to do some character reviews here where we're going to discuss the things I like, their strengths, their weaknesses, things I don't like, and how they'll affect the CPT meta or affect the meta at all, hopefully, right? So basically my overall thoughts on these characters, and these are early thoughts of course because it has only been a week. We're going to start things off by talking about Lucia, who's the first character that I learned, and apparently everybody else. I mean, everyone on Twitch seems to be streaming her, everyone on Twitter is releasing tech for her. She seems to be definitely the most popular of the 3 characters, which is really interesting since she's a brand new character from the Final Fight series. So, but I mean, overall, it's actually convenient for me because it helps me learn the character a lot faster, right? Since everyone is working together with tech and all that. We did our usual grind from rookie all the way up to diamond rank with her, so I have a pretty good understanding of her strengths and weaknesses and potentially where she can end up in the future. And I guess this should be said once again is that, you know, in the Street Fighter V life, it seems like most DLC characters are undertuned when they're first released. They definitely need a balance patch before they even put a dent in the CPT. And man, I don't even think I think the entire Season 3 roster didn't even really show anything in the CPT until a balance patch. I think the last time a character has really affected the meta has been Minot. So it's been a really long time here, so expectations are quite high, and everyone's overly critical on these characters because they want them to be really powerful. We want them to be overtuned, of course. Don't want Capcom to hold back because we want to see some new faces before the end of the season. So with that being said, let's start off here. Let's start by talking about the things I like about Lucia and of course her strengths. So let's start with her normals. First off, her normals are really fast, man. Both her standing medium punch and her crouching medium punch are both 5 frames, so super fast, which is really cool. Also, her crouching medium kick is cancelable, which is very good. It's also somewhat rare in Street Fighter V these days, yeah, just the overall speed of her normals are very quick. These normals are also very plus on block. A lot of her normals are plus, majority of them are. Even her crouching medium kick, which was surprising, just like I said, because it's cancelable. So that's really good. In fact, all of her light normals tick into throws, which is pretty rare as well. Doesn't matter if it's on hit or on block, every single light normal she has standing or crouching, I think, will tick into throws, which is really good because this opens up a lot of opportunities for frame trapping and of course for shimmies. Which players will be really susceptible to her because she is very aggressive character that wants to be really close. Another interesting part about her is she has excellent anti-airs. In fact, I think she has some of the best anti-airs in the entire game. Well, just talking about her normal first, her crouching heavy punch is basically her go-to normal anti-air. It's got good speed and a really good hitbox, hits at a great angle, it can stop people from crossing you up, and it recovers fast enough where you can apply pressure right away after you anti-air somebody. So it's really reliable. There are some like heavy anti-airs that aren't that good in this game because they're really slow and they seem to trade a lot, but her crouching heavy punch seems to be very reliable, which is great. But in terms of special moves, her anti-airs, this is where she really shines, is that hurricane spinning kick, all 3 strengths are invincible to mid-air attacks. So you can decide on the range that you want to hit, making them all reliable. Some characters are restricted only to like their medium version, their anti-air, so it has to hit a very specific angle, but not for Lucia, which is great. And another crazy part is the hitbox is pretty nuts. Even if you overshoot it and the opponent happens to jump over you as you do your special anti-air, it hits on both sides. So you still end up anti-airing your opponent. It's active for very long too, so if your opponent tries to neutral jump you and bait you as you're getting up and you try to use that as an invincible reversal, you'll end up hitting them anyways. So her anti-airs are very reliable, very good. And like I said, some of the best in the game. Her zoning is actually pretty good and unique as well. She's got that, you know, K-dash style fireball where she kicks the fireball, and then later on we found out she can actually use her special kick to knock the fireball into the opponent, so it adds a lot of depth on tricking your opponent to jump, which is great. So she can change the gears if she wants to, not rush down. She is definitely capable of zoning, especially against characters where she actually doesn't want to be close, like grapplers, for example, like Zangief. and really can trick your opponent to wanting to jump on her, and which is great, which she has no problem with because her anti-airs are so strong anyways. And it also creates a lot of pressure options for her too, since the fireballs can be really slow. The one that arcs up in the air and comes down can allow to cover her back. Basically, when she goes in, they don't disappear when she gets hit. And yeah, it's basically like a weird combination of Dawson's fireball, Colleen's fireball. I mean, it's just really good and unique to the game, which is welcome. Her slide is a good anti-zoning tool as well. She's got this slide, but it's a light kick slide, doesn't knock down, and she actually be quite minus if you misspace it. But overall, it's really good. It's one of the few slides in the game that can go pretty much under everything. It can even go underneath low tiger shots from Sagat. So she always has a way of getting in somehow, even if the opponent is zoning, which makes her really scary, especially since she's strongest when right next to the opponent. Running cancel pressure. So one really cool thing about her, and this is why a lot of people say she's like the better version of Ken, is that she's got run cancels in this game. But the difference is, like, well, when you run cancel like any normal, it's minus. The opponent can't hit you with a 3-framer. Unless she does the EX version of the run from a crouching heavy punch, I think. But anyways, she actually has an option though, where she can cancel her run into her shoulder. Now if she cancels her run into her shoulder, if the opponent was mashing a button to punish her, they'll actually get counter hit themselves, which creates a mix-up for her. So it's not fake pressure, which could be really scary. If the Lucia player is willing to take the risk, because the shoulder is -6 on block, if the opponent presses the button and Lucia guesses right, she'll get a huge amount of damage, and of course corner carry. So her running cancel pressure is actually very real and very good, and very fast. So really good for her, especially for how plus her normals are on block. So it makes her really fun to play. It's not something where like, oh no, someone knows how to stop her run cancel, so you can never do it. It's not like that. It doesn't fall apart. It's not a gimmick. Her mix-up potential is pretty good as well. It's not like insane. There's a lot of things where if you do a back rise, it'll stop a lot of her mix-up potential, but she does have options, especially when she uses meter. There's some stuff I experimented with myself that I used in some of my ranked matches, if you guys seen them, where she uses like the EX fireball, and then you can do some side switching. You can use it to cover her when she runs forward. She definitely has some options. They're not exactly 50-50s, but they're mix-ups nonetheless, and mix-ups are good because it makes the character not linear, and thus it helps it so that if your opponent knows their matchups, you don't just fall apart, of course. Finally, her V-triggers are both very strong V-triggers. She's one of those characters that is still good without them. There's some characters that literally rely on their V-triggers, or their V-triggers are so powerful that's how they win, that's her win condition. But not Lucia. The V-triggers are just strong to complement her kit. She doesn't have to rely on them. Both of them are good. V-trigger 2 is more for versatility, and it's a 2-bar, and whereas her V-trigger 1 is more for comeback and burst, if you really need that big comeback potential. So they both have their uses and preferences. Alright, moving on to weaknesses now. Lucia definitely has some glaring weaknesses. And the biggest one, and the first one we should talk about, is she has an absolutely horrible neutral. The reason is because her normals are very, very stubby. I mentioned that she has like Cammy-like normals where they're really super fast, but even compared to Cammy, they are stubbier. She has more pushback. This seems to be a trend with new Capcom characters. They have a lot of pushback. And yeah, so when you're in that kind of mid-range game, she even has problems against characters like Ryu, for example. She's definitely a character that wants to be in your face and get out of neutral as soon as possible. As soon as you get that knockdown, your opportunity to jump, you want to take it with Lucia, and you don't want to stay in that mid-range and try to play footsies, because her conversions aren't too crazy, and yeah, she just doesn't have the reach that a lot of characters do, especially when it comes to crush counters, of course. Speaking of which, she also has very poor punishes in general due to that reach. So there's a lot of things in this game that are like -4 and they're slightly out of your face. She seems to have a huge problem punishing any of those kind of moves, which allows people to bully you a lot in the neutral game. And there's just things where she just can't punish as hard as some other characters can. Like if Honda does like a heavy headbutt on you, for example, there seems to be nothing you can really do except for sweep him, despite him being so minus, like -12. So that's definitely a downside of her. You can't really capitalize on punishing someone really, really hard if they do a sloppy mistake on you. She also has a weak Oki game, so she's not a character that wants to knock you down and then kind of put you into this vortex and just keep knocking you down over and over. She does get this when she puts you in the corner though, but like most characters, they're strong when they get you in the corner. But Lucia is more of a character that fights on her feet and fights you on your feet and basically frame traps you all day until you get stunned. And then when she stuns you, that's when she can put out some really good damage output. But in terms of Oki, it seems like back rise really eliminates a lot of her pressure game. Finally, she has poor conversions into V-trigger, I feel. Most of these things all tie into her neutral, of course. She's the kind of character where she goes into V-trigger, most of the time she's going to try to dash forward and go for a crouching medium kick to convert, or she's got to spend bar and go into the EX run into V-skill, which has excellent range, but then you're spending bar to get into a V-trigger. Another thing too is that when you land your V-trigger on somebody with Lucia, say a crouching medium kick or whatever, you don't really want to waste your V-gauge on doing a long combo because there'll be so much scaling due to all the nerfs that Capcom's done to V-triggers. There are some character exceptions such as Rashid or Akuma, where Akuma will get a hard knockdown on you because he doesn't really care about the damage, it's more about that hard knockdown after and you're in big trouble, whereas Lucia doesn't have hard knockdowns, so most of the time she doesn't want to waste her bar to get very little damage, right? And since she has poor Oki, it's not going to benefit too much. So she's the kind of character that she's just not going to make huge comebacks by landing in that V-trigger like some other characters are, and I feel that is a big weakness in the current Street Fighter meta. So overall, will she affect the meta in Street Fighter V? Are we going to be seeing her in tournaments? Well, the only pro player that I've heard that was thinking of trying out Lucia in a tournament is Sako, which is a really good player to start trying her out. Hopefully you can see, I mean, he's dropping Kage for Lucia, so I mean, that's not much of an upgrade. You're going from one stubby normal character to another, but I'm sure Sako can do really well with her. I don't think she will affect the top 3 characters, Ibuki, Akuma, and Rashid. Since Lucia has weaknesses herself, these top 3 characters don't. So I don't think she'll really affect that. But I do feel that Lucia is strong because, like I said, her run pressure is real, her zoning is good, and her normals are actually good when she's up close. And she does have some pretty respectable combos, and her anti-air game is very, very solid. And a pretty good V-reversal as well. So I do think her strengths make up for her weaknesses, but I do feel like Capcom was being very mindful and not going too crazy to make her overpowered, since she does indeed have weaknesses, and it won't be crazy and, you know, destroy the meta with everyone using Lucia. But I do feel like she's very, very strong, and she might possibly be the strongest of the 3 DLC characters. But she is not as simple as Honda, so there might be some things that we're missing out on her actual potential. But in terms of a brand new character being added to Street Fighter V, I think Capcom did a great job with her design. It's not boring, it's not linear. Like some other characters, I feel like she's a great addition. I'm actually pretty happy how she turned out from my initial impressions on, you know, who else they could have actually added to the game. So I hope you guys enjoy Lucia, and we'll see how she performs if we see her in future tournaments, hopefully. But I'm glad that a lot of people are having fun with this character, and hopefully they'll hold us out right until Season 5, basically. So let me know your guys' thoughts below in the comments. How do you guys feel Lucia affects the meta, if she's strong or is she weak, and basically what you guys think. And we'll do some other character reviews as I'm learning them myself throughout next week. So be sure to like the video, guys, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps out. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Take care.